Welcome back to my channel. I'm glad to have you here. So one of the ways that people do the nomadic lifestyle is by periodically pet sitting or house sitting. There's websites where you can sign up and become a pet sitter or a house sitter. I've done a little bit of that, but I'm here in Omaha and I am currently house sitting and pet sitting for somebody as part of my stay here. I am pet sitting for some interesting characters. I would like you to meet Pickles and Olive. They are two pigs that have been raised to be house pigs since they were little. As you can see now, they're a bit larger and in charge, and I am hanging out with them and learning how to take care of some house piggies over the next few days. Time to feed some piggies. I see her out there looking at me. All right, little piggy. Hi, Olive. Come on in, honey. Go to your room. You want some celery? You want some celery? Come on. Go to your room. Go to your room. Oh, no, that's not the way. Olive, come here. Look at Olive, go get it. Go to your room. Here, go to your room. Go to your room. Olive, that's the bedroom. Olive, come here. Come here, look what I've got for you. Olive, look. Look it. Go. Go to your room. Go. Go. I know, it's past time for your food. You're upset. Second piggy's turn. Come on out. Come on out, Pickles. Go on outside, friend. Let's get you some of this food. Nice little mixture. All right, there you go. Fresh veggies. Got a bag, veggie here. Miss Pickles gets half of it. Just put it over there for her. Celery. Miss Pickles. I'll leave you out here to finish eating. Pickles, the slower one, the older one, used to bully people and be a little aggressive, but then when Olive arrived, that role switched. Pickles was getting outrun for treats and stuff, so now they have to eat separately, because otherwise Olive will take all of the food and leave Pickles none of the food. All right, y'all. This little piggy appears to have finished. Let's go release the dinosaur. Beware indeed. All right, it's your turn. Come on. Come on. Okay, you know the drill. Turn. Turn. Good girl. You gotta have her do a trick and spin around, otherwise she will spill her food. And now we're gonna throw some more of this veg. She needs a little bit of a challenge, so we're gonna throw it a little further. You didn't see that. All right. Throw it down the ramp. And there she goes. we did it. Another successful pig feeding of the day. They do that twice a day. This place is close to a park, so we're gonna go sit with nature for a little while. So we are in the midst of equinox. This is one of the major changing of the seasons. Let's see, I'm filming this the day after the equinox. Yesterday marked the time period of the year when the days and the nights are equally as long. We're moving away from the summer where days are longer, we have more light, we have more energy, there's a little more activity. We're moving back into the darkness of winter when we're meant to, outside of colonial reality, take a little time, go a little slower, go inward, hibernate, be a little less active, have to produce a bit less. So we're in this transitional time, this transitional season. I came here to sit with myself and think a little bit about what are some of the transitions and changes that I'm going through, what is coming to a close from this last chapter, this summer chapter, this last year, what's opening for this next period of moving deeper into another time period of darkness and internal reflection. The changing of the seasons are a nice opportunity for that kind of reflection. I wanted to share some of that with you. So one of the tools I use in addition to journaling and just reflection is tarot. I like to use tarot as a way of looking at what are messages, what are themes, what are patterns, what are pieces of my reality that want to be reflected back to me. So I wanted to share that with you all. I thought I would pull a few cards for this equinox, this new Libra season that we are entering, all these changes that we are transitioning through with the natural world right now. Our lives are kind of constantly in change, especially these last few years. It's felt like a lot of change, a lot of instability, a lot of uncertainty. And I find that seeking to move with the natural rhythms helps alleviate some of that. Seeking to look to nature and see how is nature changing, how is nature shifting, what is nature calling on me, on us, on humans to be focused on, because of course, like, we are a part of nature. That's the pull of the equinox. You know, nature goes in the ground, trees go into a stationary time period, plants do it, animals do it, humans are meant to do it, but capitalism and colonialism prohibit us from following some of those natural rhythms. We might not be able to fully follow along with the natural rhythms of life. In fact, we can't fully follow along with the natural rhythms of life when we're trying to exist and survive in modern day colonialism, modern day capitalism, and yet we can still take small steps. We can still tune in and feel into, like, what are lessons, what are things that we can focus on, what are some of those ways that we can try to align with the natural rhythms of life and reconnect a bit more to our own natural sides. Maybe we can't not work during winter, but nature might have other reminders, other tips, other lessons that we can learn from. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. Ooh, I am cold. Wow. In a very symbolic changing of the seasons, 2 or 3 days ago it was 96 degrees here in Nebraska, and today it is like 60. Nature in the Midwest is reminding us this is a time of change. I'm gonna use one of my favorite decks, Mythical Goddess Tarot. I have a lot of decks, but this is one I've been using while I've been traveling over these past couple years. I wanted to connect a bit more to the divine feminine energy, just feminine energy in general. Feminine energy can teach us to move with nature, to be still, to listen to wait for timing to be right. And I needed a little bit of that in my life. It teaches us to follow our intuition, connect to our intuition. So I'm going to ask the cards to show us a theme. I would like a main theme card of what is a lesson, what is a theme, what is an area of focus right now. Okay, got one card for that. Something I've been liking to do with tarot is like a past, present, future sort of thing. So I like to ask, what is the past of this issue? What is, an experience that has already happened, lessons that we've already learned, something that has already been received? And where are we at in the present with this theme? What are we working on right now? What are we focusing on right now? And in the future, where are we headed with this theme? What's around the corner? What can we set our sights to? What's coming as we continue to lean into the lessons, as we continue to lean into this theme? Where are we going with this? All right. So let me see if I can show you the cards we've got. This is the key theme, the Wind, Maiden, Clarity card. And this was past. Let me see if I can do this reverse. Present and future. So immediately when I'm thinking about this Wind card, Maiden, Clarity, I actually think about the video I made last week. Was it last week? The week before? In that video, I talked about seeing the forest for the trees, being able to zoom out, and the importance of being able to zoom out. What I see from this card, I like to look at the images and just kind of like feel into what is this image telling me? What's the message? And then there's some other pieces of the cards too that are interesting to unpack. So in this card, I very much see that. I see that what comes to me is that we are in this time period of really starting to see beyond the veils of society in some ways. COVID helped highlight issues that we maybe weren't as aware of beforehand. We have access to, this is something I talk about all the time, we have access to so much more information than we ever have before. The internet is a blessing and a curse, but it has certainly given us a lot more ability to understand the wholeness of an issue. And that's so important because without a clear vision of something, we can't change it, right? Like when we look at this maiden who is on the back of this falcon, she's aiming her bow. She's looking at the ground, she's aiming her bow. She's only able to do that because she sees through that level of clarity, because she's able to get to that bird's eye view of whatever it is she's looking at, and she's able to pinpoint exactly where she wants that arrow to go, and she's able to aim it accordingly. If she was down on the ground, she would not have that same vantage point. The Wind card also speaks to the mind, speaks to thinking. So I do feel this is a theme related to like mental clarity and all of us being able to see with clarity, all of us being able to look at the reality of the world around us, look at that point on the ground that we're aiming for, whether that be something we want to change, whether that would be something we want to bring into our lives, an opportunity we want to pull to us, something we want to see improve about the world in general. Zooming out to this level, gaining this level of clarity is what we need. And to me, this fits in with the theme of equinox also, the purpose of darkness, the purpose of having time periods where we go more internal, where we're a little bit less external in our focus, is that it allows balance for clarity. If we're constantly living externally, if we're constantly just like waking up and going to work and doing our job and coming home and taking care of our house and taking care of our family and going to bed and waking it up and doing it all over again, when we're stuck in like that kind of a pattern of repetition, when we're kept busy by our external reality, that's a tool of oppression. That's one of the ways that capitalism is a tool that keeps us oppressed, because we're constantly spinning our wheels. We're constantly going to the next thing. So there is a benefit in this time of darkness of being able to step inwards, being able to take some time to get out of the busyness of the world around us, to find some of that internal external balance, at least a little bit more of that internal external balance than maybe we might have in the summer months, in the warm months when we want to be outside and play all day. To go inward is a way of getting this kind of mental clarity. Okay, let's think about the past, present, and future of this topic. So again, here are our past, present, and future cards. This past Earth is connected to the material realm, whereas seas are a water card that's more connected to an emotional realm. It's ironic to get this card in our past because, I don't think we certainly haven't achieved it in our modern reality. But what comes to me as I'm thinking about this theme of finding clarity, what comes to me with this card is it's like a coming together. It's like a merging of elements, a merging of people, a merging of diversity, really. As we learn from others, we become more whole in ourselves. When we stay in our little bubbles in the world, when we're not intermixing with different elements, with different people, with different populations, we end up keeping ourselves really small and narrow in our focus. So if I'm thinking of modern reality, what comes to me is the awareness that's been built over the last several years of these different pockets, and this is kind of what I was speaking to with the internet also, is that there's benefit in being able to connect with the experiences and stories of other people in a really concrete, material way. By no means have we completed this like notion of community. We have so far to go in getting out of those like little bubbles of reality, but we do have some of the way paved for us. We have seen more, at least in the worlds that I've been in some ways we have seen more levels of connection through capacities like the internet, but also through like social movements and people speaking up about their experiences and us being able to hear and learn from populations that don't look like us in terms of like, wow, here are the challenges that they're really experiencing. Here's what they're really going through. I think about my institutional oppression class. One of the books that we're reading for that class is An Indigenous People's History of the United States. And that is so important in our level of connectivity to grapple with the reality of the past, to look at the past of the history of this country and say like, this is really what we've been through. These are actually the experiences that people have had, not to look at it from this whitewashed version of reality, but to look at it from a real, true lived experience, personal stories. Hearing what Indigenous people went through and continue to go through, reckoning with the realities of the atrocities that were committed against a lot of different populations of color, of Indigenous people, of Black folks, of people from Africa, people from a lot of different cultures have experienced isolation and marginalization in society. So this notion of community, of building from that awareness, that is one of the important steps in getting to this zoomed out version of clarity where we can see what are the things we want to change, what are the things we want to keep, how do we hone in on them. So I contrast that with this present, which is a Seas card. It's the Ace of Seas, ecstasy, and you can see in this image it's somebody who looks really very peaceful. She is at one with the ocean. She is connected to the seahorse, she's connected to the stars, she's connected to the different layers and elements of the ocean. and C's represent emotions. So I feel like what this is saying is like a present focus for us. You know, we're still building from that community awareness piece, but what I see is that a present focus for us is to look at our emotions and to figure out, how do we get to this pure place within ourselves? Because it's one thing to learn about the realities of the world around us. It's another thing to internalize that and to be able to find a center place, to be able to find a place of peace within that. There's a saying that goes, be in the world but not of the world, which is essentially saying, like, how do we navigate in a reality where things aren't right, things aren't going right, where there is suffering, where sometimes we're the ones who are suffering? How do we not let ourselves be changed by that in a bad way? How do we not become jaded? How do we not become hopeless? And this card to me is putting an emphasis on that, is putting an emphasis on calming our own emotional seas, calming our own emotional internal landscapes, doing what we need, what we can do to get ourselves as much into this place of inner peace as possible. Finding the places, spaces, people that have us feeling like this is a present focus for us, again, in gaining this level of clarity. When we are distressed, when we are dysregulated, when our emotions are overriding us, we can't see the forest for the trees. We can only look around and feel lost in our present reality. So there is an emphasis on really taking care of ourselves right now. In terms of where this is going, like, how promising of a card is this? In this card, I see kind of like the ultimate connection. I see a person who feels completely connected with earth, and then through this foundation, through being able to stand solid on this earth, there's a connection that's opening up into the ethers, and that can be taken in a lot of different ways. That is, you know, our connection to spirit, our connection to source. Could be a connection to someone we call God, could be a connection to someone else. Maybe it's this, you know, Pleiadian star goddess person that we see. But to get to this level of interconnection is really kind of ecstasy. Like, this is really like full ecstasy, is feeling that way, feeling that, you know, we're here, we're grounded, we're on earth for a reason. We're not alone, we're not randomly here. We have purpose, we have support. There is something larger that is at play that we're a part of. We're involved in something bigger. That helps with this too. It helps us to feel as though we're part of something bigger, to feel as though we're a part of a larger purpose of life, more than just we're here to live and die on earth as individual beings. It's this greater connection. It's this spiritual connection. And spiritual connection is about connection to self. Like, that's what spirituality means. It's connection to our own inner spirit, but it's also about connection to nature. It's also about connection to other people. It's also about connection to humanity. And when we lean into that kind of spiritual connection where we feel a part of something bigger than ourselves, that can open up empathy, that can open up hope, that can open up compassion that might not have otherwise been there. So if this resonates, I hope it offers some sense of peace to know that, like, we are on this pathway, that, you know, this is a theme for us right now, is being able to see more clearly the reality around us, first from a basis of increased awareness of the reality of other people's experiences and the diversity that exists, not just among humans, but among nature, among animals, among the creatures on the planet, the plants and the trees, the water systems themselves, to be able to understand the reality as though we were like sitting in this circle and all connected and all sharing and all learning and knowing from one another. As we build from this foundation, we then turn to caring for ourselves within that, finding a sense of peace within that, so we're not spun out and overly focused on the tragedies of the world. We have to practice some self-care within that. We have to be sustainable within this work. If we're not doing it sustainably, we're not doing it well. And from there's this call for a bigger spiritual commitment, and maybe that's something that naturally occurs as we learn from others, as we lean into the lessons of others, and as we care for ourselves. Maybe that naturally occurs, that we have like this sort of an experience where we're feeling really connected to earth, to reality, to to humanity, and that all of those are stages along this clarity journey. All of those are stages along this journey of finding more clarity for ourselves, for our world. We have to learn from each other. We have to take care of ourselves, and we have to find a way to feel as though we're a part of something bigger. So wherever you're at in this little past, present, future flow is totally fine. Maybe you're resonating more with one side or the other. This is a broad reading, so take the elements, take the themes that feel like they fit for you, and leave the rest. And with that, I will leave you and wish you some luck as you work to find some clarity in your own experience, as I am certainly working to find more clarity within mine.